Hello, flat earth researchers, debaters and debunkers. You're very wrong if you believe that flat earth is a belief. It is in fact a realization that you can arrive at if you've attempted to discard all the baggage of belief. To imagine or perceive that we live on the outside of a spinning sphere is a belief. It's not knowledge. It's not scientific knowledge that has been gained and collaborated over thousands of years. It is a belief that is perpetuated by an idea, a concept, a model that has been developed with explanations over many years and passed off as knowledge. But it has been given to us as a belief. So when you're talking to someone who has realized that we do not live on a spinning ball and uses the term flat earth, it is simply to refer to the obvious that we can see and experience when we have challenged our preconceived beliefs. And of course, those have been brought about since we were in school and throughout our lives by being presented with this image of an earth that looks like this. And this education that has given us interpretations of observations leading to a belief that we're living on a spherical earth. And this is simply down to making decisions to have the sun at the center of our time-keeping system and the Gregorian calendar. And all the explanations have been built upon that. So it's not until you question those beliefs and this apparent knowledge that we can realize that it has just been lots and lots of bags of belief and theories. So it is no different to a religion to believe that we live on a spinning ball. Now, of course, a lot of religious people, for example Christians, believe in a domed earth. And a lot of people come along and assume or believe that I personally believe in a domed earth. To me, this dome is one of perspective, this dome of perspective. And I have no preconceived ideas or beliefs about the true shape, dimensions or extent of this earth. It could be an infinite plane. And I have no idea where we are, how it all came to be, and I have no beliefs about that. And I would happily go back to believing that we live on a globe if it could be scientifically proven. But of course, this is the crux of the issue, is the difference between real scientific knowledge and exploration and investigation and belief. And science, as we know, is an exploration, and it is questioning. It is questioning of those theories and ideas to see if they hold true. So when we are scientific about the beliefs that we have, and we examine these theories, all these different compartmentalized explanations that are passed off as science, the science fact, to go with the whole heliocentric globe model idea of representing our reality. When we question that in a scientific way, then that is when we realize that we have been holding a belief. And you will see it all the time. People, well, the thing is, people get so upset because they believe that their belief is under attack simply by someone being scientific and asking questions and examining and studying whether it is possible to perceive our reality as being anything other than what we have been told to believe. And this is just a challenge that any and all of us should be taking in life, not just to think about the shape of the earth, but to constantly question whether we are carrying around this baggage of belief. And we all do it, and this is something that we have to discard all the time, because throughout life we collect more and more baggage of belief in it, and it drags us down. It gets heavy. We all have baggage because we've all had experiences, we've all formulated ideas, or have a personality that we wish to preserve. So of course, if those beliefs are questioned, then you go on the defensive. I hope this isn't too noisy with the rain. The challenge isn't to prove where we live or what this place is, because ultimately no one knows. The challenge is to realize and understand that any number of beliefs can be formed or given to us, presented to us, based on the fact that nobody actually knows. And of course, it's personal. A belief is personal baggage. So when we question all these explanations given to us, whether it's a distant sun, axial tilt, gravity, what have you, when we question all these and see if they work as a model to represent reality, then that's being scientific, and it is an ability to discern between the difference between knowledge and belief. And this again is a goal that all of us should have in life, to continually discern between the things we really know or cannot know and belief. And when you really think about it, it turns out that we know nothing, yet we are constantly carrying around these heavier and heavier bags of belief. So progress is to discard those bags of belief. That's the only way you can make progress. If you continue to carry around these bags of belief, they just drag you down. Because none of us have any real answers. Nobody. It doesn't matter who you are. And of course, a lot of the time, an argument will come from someone who has, 40 years of experience. And so they feel they know they are right. I see this a lot. I've been questioning people about, people take pictures of or footage of ships in the distance, and they see there's mirroring, there's obvious mirroring, and when they're questioned whether they see it or not, they say no, they say there's no mirroring. and then make the claim that they know what they're talking about because they've been doing it for 40 years. Well, no, the problem is they've been carrying around this baggage for so long, they are attached to it. They don't want to let it go. And again, this is attachment. This is a form of suffering. So what you'll find is many of us who have realized, not believed, realized that we don't live on a spinning globe in a heliocentric model, because that is just one way of interpreting everything we see. We've gone through a process of challenging our own beliefs, questioning our own beliefs, and making an effort to discard that baggage. And it is only then that you can be free. This is all about freedom. This is about gaining your freedom from all that baggage, from those chains that tie you down to a belief. So no one is, personally, I don't want to attack people or argue with people or get nasty. But of course, a lot of the time they'll come along with preconceived beliefs about what I believe, or any of this collective group of flat earthers believe. And yes, this is a problem with the way flat earth has been presented. Because sometimes it is like swapping one belief for another, or misdirecting that realization and repackaging it. And we of course see many people who understand the desire for people to feel part of a group, to feel special. Of course, people like myself are often accused of believing that we're special, and we've got some kind of special knowledge that goes against all known science. Again, it's not science. This is simply it's the realization that we have no knowledge, and being free and wanting to share this freedom and help set others free by trying to explain and demonstrate and show how to break free from the belief. The belief that any belief, any belief about what we're doing here, what this place is, who we are. Because what is very clear is that throughout our lives and all around us, there are people who will develop cults in all forms and followings, and have people believe a certain thing and have them then behave in a certain way and act on those beliefs. So I really just wanted to emphasize this is discernment. It's discernment between knowledge and belief. So don't come here believing that you are being personally attacked. Do not come here with that emotional baggage. Be scientific. Because science, obviously the whole concept of science has been very, very confused. Confusion is what reigns here. And so clarity, clear lines must be defined between, for example, mathematical proofs and physical proofs. These are two very different things. Mathematical proofs are not science, because a mathematical proof is merely just a description that arrives at an answer in a variety of many possible ways. Just for example, 360 degrees or 180 degrees, these ratios or angles, can be arrived at with a circle in geometry. A triangle gives you 180 degrees. Yeah? A square gives you 360 degrees. So, in that sense, is a triangle or a pyramid or a circle or a square a mathematical proof of anything? They're all very different, but you can arrive at the same answers and use various formula and give them different labels and different names, but you end up at the same result with these degrees and ratios. But they appear very different. So these mathematical proofs are mistaken as science. They're just descriptions. And like any language, mathematics can be used to convey facts and measurements or calculations and make up stories. This is a very, very simple, fundamental thing to understand. Maths is a language that describes physics, describes measurements. So yes, we can, and these are all made up by people. These are all attempts to try to measure our reality. But of course we find that we can't. We can't actually precisely measure a year, whether it's a solar year or a lunar year. It doesn't quite fit. We end up with bits left over because we're trying to measure time, we're trying to define time. But this is a habit of the human to try to label it and have some kind of attachment to time. And time is our most precious resource. And yes, it's important to measure it or perceive it so that communication can occur. Communication on all levels. And here's something interesting I heard on the news yesterday, that there was a technical problem with the opening of the stock markets, and so the larger companies in the stock markets they weren't able to trade for about an hour or so yesterday morning, and this created worldwide problems. This was a massive issue because the whole thing is based on time. The world's economy is time and money. And that, of course, is what any model is about. It's about defining time. And we are very attached to time. Look at how crazy this whole place is because we're so worried about time. But things will happen when they are supposed to happen. They don't happen necessarily by the watch. If a train is late or an aircraft, whatever, I mean, sure, they have to run on schedule. There isn't any denial that that is useful in an operational system to have times or a way of telling time that everyone agrees with. But this is what we have with the coordinate system, timelines and time zones, the North and the South Pole and the longitude and latitude lines assigned to the global projection of the Earth. It is nothing more than deciding on a standard time, a standard way of telling the time that everyone can adhere to and follow. And again, that's fine. That's fine for getting people from A to B and for everyone to be on the same page in that respect. But that doesn't define reality. It doesn't define what's really happening on this earth or with us. But of course, look at how preoccupied we are with time and money. These are our most valuable assets. The one thing we are given when we are given life on this earth is time. That is the one thing that we have. And of course, there's an entire system that we're born into that is designed to occupy our time, steal our time, or make use of our time. That's a decision that we have to make. What are we going to do with our time? And of course, money is intrinsically linked to that. But it doesn't have to be that way. It's very true that time is money, but that isn't a universal truth. This is an attachment that we have been given, that's been put upon us. But it's very difficult to imagine a world without money. Again, it's very useful. We all need it. We all have to use it. But look at how that need is manipulated and how we are enslaved by it at the same time. Enslaved by time, enslaved by money, enslaved by a system that is run entirely on time and money. And we get up in the morning, if we've got kids, we've got to rush to get them to school. It's all about time, time, time. This happens at 8 o'clock, that happens at midday, that happens at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And our entire days are occupied trying to stick to these timetables we are given. And in the big picture of things, this timetable of a solar calendar is given to us in the form of a heliocentric model. So yeah, we are talking about being able to detach from that belief that time and money are things that we need to be attached to. They happen, they are there, they occur, they are part of this existence. We can't be here physically without time. But our idea of time, our measurement of time, our calculation of time, and the same for money, and the value of time, the worth of time, is a belief, it's a perception. The value of a note, the value of a coin, is a perception that has to be constantly reinforced. And this also goes for the value, the mathematical value, the values that are given to the Earth or the planets or whatever it might be. You know, its mass, its dimensions, all have to be given values. or measurements. So not physical measurements, but calculations in order to make this model work. Again, and so it becomes a mathematical proof that we drop something and it takes a certain amount of time to hit the floor, or the sun takes a certain amount of time to cross the sky, or the moon, or the stars. And of course, we are led to believe that seeing something cross the sky is because we are moving, or it's a combination of the two. But that's just a perception. That's just a belief. And when people come along and say, 15 degrees rotation and gyroscopes, it doesn't prove anything about the shape or alleged motion of the Earth. But this is why you have to reverse engineer the globe. This is why you might feel that the globe is being attacked and your personal belief in that is being attacked. But what does that relate to? It relates to this idea that we're going to explore space and evolve. Because of this idea about the Earth's place in space. But these are all just ideas and explanations cobbled together in a model of explanations and descriptions. You can't measure axial tilt. You can only illustrate it and perceive it. That's ridiculous. That is a belief. It can't be seen, it can't be done. There are many ways to interpret it. But to be attached to any one, whether it's a round Earth, flat Earth, concave Earth, what have you, again, is a belief. I have no idea whether there's an ice wall or how big this place is. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But there is this realization that it can all be contrived and various models can be created. And to me, the fact that we can do that, the fact that we can look up into the sky and assume or believe that we can understand the mechanics of it as being this way or that way, or model it in various ways, tells us. This tells us that we're living in a place that is intelligently designed, but we should also be careful and guard against formulating any kind of belief, because it's obvious that it can be interpreted in a multitude of different ways. So then we have to realize that this might be an impossible thing to do. And maybe that's the whole point. The whole point is for us to realize that you can't tell exactly where you are or what this place is, but you can make up any number of explanations and stories and beliefs about what this place is. And in that way it's a test. It's an education. If only we can allow ourselves to realize that. So of course we're going to have people who wish to control us presenting these things as beliefs, and they will appear to have knowledge. So someone who tracks the stars and knows intricately when and where stars will appear might appear to have knowledge. And that knowledge then becomes some kind of prestige, the ability to make predictions. And so that knowledge is passed off as gospel. When in fact it's no different to reading the time on a watch or on the clock on a wall. You can predict when it will be 12 o'clock by looking at a clock. It doesn't determine anything about the size, shape, dimensions, or alleged movement of this earth. All it does is give us something to refer to, so that we have a standard, and that's the thing. Our lives have been standardized by people whose job it is to standardize everything. Keep referring to Newton, because his job as the head of the Royal Mint in the UK was to standardize the currency. Again, all good, that's fine. It helps, it's useful to have a standard, it's useful to have certain laws. I'm not trying to be lawless or ignorant or free to the point where everything is just thrown away. Having a standard to follow is handy, it's useful. But if you look and you think pragmatically and scientifically about everything that we are given and told to believe, then you will see that models are a way to standardize our existence. Yet what is obvious is that every single one of us is different, is unique, has a different skill, and maybe has a different reason for being here. Collectively, these things come together as individuals with individual skill sets and different individual paths. Life is not standard. It's anything but standard. But of course, there is this continuous attempt to standardize as an objective reality. And thus, we end up carrying baggage of beliefs that things are a certain way, that things should or shouldn't be this or that way. When really, what is obvious is the total opposite is true. And we should be celebrating each and everyone's uniqueness and embracing the chaos rather than being afraid of it or trying to standardize it or trying to chain it down and put it into a model. Yeah? Or being enslaved by these chains of time and money. So, freedom from belief is the objective here. So there is no belief on the way things really are. It's incredible, really. It's magical, this experience we're having. And of course, you can call it suffering, but it's not permanent. We might be poor, we might be in pain, we might be stressed. It's not permanent, it will end. Whether it's through death or through change is imminent. So to hang on to those bags of belief is suffering. And so if you come along and you want to fight with the flat earther, then you're picking the wrong fight, because the fight is with our own minds. The fight is with our egos and our beliefs. And when you fight, you tense up, but the whole thing is to let go. And that's the most difficult thing to do. Fighting is easy. Believing is easy. Accusations are easy. being free from those accusations and that baggage of belief is the biggest challenge that most of us can face. And in my mind is the challenge that we face in this material physical existence, to detach from that material world, or materialism. We're in a material world, we can't escape that. But it is the attachments we have that become our chains, chain us down. All right, well, the sun has kind of come up. Thank you very much. I hope that's food for thought.
Click subscribe and the bell icon if you'd like to receive notifications of new videos from Phuket Word.